Welcome back to the FF Forge. My name is Steve, and it is rankings day officially. So, good morning to you if you're catching this in the morning. It is time for the tight end position. If you did not catch it, I already released the quarterback video last night for a couple of reasons. So, check that out if you missed it. Also, in the future, you can check out my wide receivers and running backs videos that will be coming out later today, or maybe they're all already out, depending on when you are seeing this video. The tight ends should be quite quick today. There are only 3 that I have highlighted to speak about. And how do I get those highlights? Well, I start with the ECR, the expert consensus ranking, and then I move them up and down from there in order to figure out who I have the biggest difference with compared to the expert consensus ranking, and then those are the guys for the most part that I focus on and talk about. I'm hoping to have a moment to show you my projections, but all of my rankings, my projections, can be found up on the website at www.theffforge.com, link down in the description. And I'm hoping to have a moment to show you those projections if we get through this quick enough. So let's get going. Just right here is my ranking. Over here is the ECR. Here is the difference. A negative means that I am lower than the ECR. Positive number would mean that I'm above it. And the big thing here is the difficulty matchup rating, whatever color to show how good or bad the matchup is. Right here's the opponent. And red is good, blue is bad, white is neutral. So, and obviously the intensity of the coloring will tell you a lot about how good or how bad it is. So let's just start with my first tier for tight ends, which is quite a big tier today. Starting off at tight end number 1 with Travis Kelce, followed by TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, Dalton Schultz, David Njoku, Pat Freiermuth, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, and to wrap it all up at tight end number 10, I have Greg Dulcich. And right here, George Kittle and Dalton Schultz, I just wanted to make quick mention that I actually originally had Dalton Schultz ahead of George Kittle, but I did do my projections already, and they kind of helped me to put George Kittle ahead of Dalton Schultz. I was a little bit surprised that the rankings liked George Kittle more than Dalton Schultz, but they did. At tight end number 11, I have Evan Ingram, followed by Tyler Conklin, Daniel Bellinger, and to wrap up this little tier, Dawson Knox at tight end number 14. And I just wanted to mention about Evan Ingram going up against Dallas. It's a really bad matchup. I've been the biggest fan of Evan Ingram. If you haven't seen me before, or my tight end rankings pretty much all season, and he still is what he has been all season. He is a back end tight end 1, dependent upon matchup as to where he goes. Now, he'd probably be a little bit lower. He definitely would be if he didn't have the massive week that he had last week. But that was why I liked him, because there was so many good underlying numbers for him that he just needed to end up getting into the end zone once or twice, whatever the case. And they were, he was just bursting at the seam. And so it was nice to see him come through, but don't expect some sort of massive outcome again against Dallas, since they are a tougher matchup. But the potential is there in a game that might be quite high scoring. So that's always a good sign. Then Daniel Bellinger I have at tight end 13, which is 12 spots ahead of the ECR. The ECR has him at tight end 25. And in part, I'm sure that the ECR is back a little ways compared to where they will end up ranking Daniel Bellinger if he's good to go. And that's the thing. If he did get banged up in the last game, didn't finish the game, news was that he was just really sore on Monday. So I'm hopeful that he can play again. If you were planning on potentially playing Daniel Bellinger, A, don't let him be your only option. B, really pay attention to any kind of news coming out as to his health, because maybe he'll play, but it'll be in a limited capacity. Either way, I would still probably like him a fair bit, because I really like his odds for a touchdown, and he's had a lot of targets in the end zone. They like him there. The next tier starts at tight end 15 with Tyler Higbee, followed by Taysom Hill, Hunter Henry, Foster Moreau, Austin Hooper, Chigoziem Okonkwo, Noah Fant, and Cade Otton. And the only one we want to talk about is Chig. The only reason that he's this far back is because I am expecting Treylon Burks to be coming back this weekend. If Treylon Burks does not come back, then Chig is much more valuable. The Chargers are a tough matchup, so I didn't think about this yet. Where would I put Chig? Chig would be a back-end starter, probably right around 12, 13, where the experts have him is where I would put him. Probably, I think I would like him ahead of Daniel Bellinger, behind Conklin, but a little bit dependent on what I'm looking for from my tight end. He'd be a little bit riskier than Conklin given the matchup and just given the amount of targets that he'll probably get, and Conklin will probably get, but ultimately he'll still have a higher ceiling than Conklin, so it kind of depends what you're looking for. And with a tight end, it never hurts to go for that ceiling. Then I have Robert Tonyan here, just kind of hanging out between two tiers. I do have him colored red like this final tier, but I actually had him above Cade Otton until right before filming. I do like him a decent bit, and I consider him to be more in that tier 3, but Robert Tonyan in at tight end 23, followed by Logan Thomas, Mike Gesicki, and Jordan Akins, and nobody's told me how to pronounce that yet. And so I have Jordan Akins 5 spots behind the ECR. The ECR on him is 21, going up against Kansas City. Not a good matchup. I'm actually not going to be projecting him. He just doesn't quite get the kind of usage that I would feel comfortable relying on. But this week, going up against Kansas City, there's some upside to that, and especially if they're short 2 wide receivers again this coming up weekend, you could take a chance on them. But I would hope and think that you're able to have somebody better than that. So feel free to leave a comment to ask any start-sit questions. Also on this week, Saturday, there are 3 games, and so I will be going live 1 hour prior to kickoff for the first set of games on Saturday, then Sunday like normal. So keep that in mind. Check out, I don't have the game, sorry, right in front of me, but check out those games if you're interested to see which teams are playing. And one moment. And here are my projections. Here's what they look like up on the website. Once again, link down in the description. So obviously got the ranking over there. Here is more than just the matchup difficulty. The matchup difficulty is a part of this equation, but this is a player temperature gauge. This also takes factors like how good of the quality the targets are for the players and how well they've produced with those targets. And the Vegas line, well, no, that's part of, the Vegas line is in there. There's several different things, so it's just more complex than simply how hard is the matchup. A little bit trying to say, hey, do they have enough other factors going in favor for them to overcome a tough matchup, or are we thinking they might have a ceiling type game? And that brings us over here to my projections, which these are expected floors and expected ceilings. They are not the absolute floor and absolute ceiling, but they are the higher end and lower end that you could expect for these players to have in a very good or a very bad game. And then here is the heart of my rankings, and this is an expected range. This, I could project a number. I actually do project a number for my projected rankings, which I use to help with my own rankings, but I could use that, but I really don't like single-digit projections. I prefer to have a range. It doesn't necessarily make decision-making easier all the time, but it can, or it could give you some confidence with a guy who's ranked lower to see, the upper end of that range does go beyond some other players, or maybe the upper end of that range does intersect with even somebody that you're really scared. I mean, you would never sit Travis Kelce up here at top for, who is this? Cole Kmet. But you get that idea, especially at the wide receiver and running back positions. You can compare them against each other, etc. So just wanted to show this off. Once again, those are up at the website for all the positions and the quarterback position as well. Thank you very much. We'll see you later in the wide receiver and running back videos. Take care.